Ladies and gentlemen, our next urban debate is a story that might not be making headlines across TV news, but one with immense implications for you, dear viewer. The Supreme Court today has observed that Section 498A of the erstwhile IPC, which of course deals with cruelty to married women, and along with the provisions of the Domestic Violence Act, are among the most abused and misused laws in the country. This observation was made by a bench led by Justice BR Gavai and also comprising Justices Prashant, Kumar, Mishra and KV Vishwanathan while hearing a matrimonial dispute concerning maintenance. Now, Section 498A of the IPC, which now in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita is almost verbatim in some forms of Section 85 and 86, has been the topic of debate and has drawn criticism before as well. Today was from the Supreme Court, but earlier it was from the High Court. In August this year, the Bombay High Court Justices A.S. Gadkari and Neeta Gokhale highlighted that even grandparents are being implicated in Section 498A cases due to misuse. Similarly, in May this year, Kerala High Court Justice A. Badruddin observed that some women are initiating these cases against the husband's family as a form of vengeance. Justice R.M. Joshi of the Bombay High Court remarked in August last year that distant relatives, those who have no physical connection with the husband and the wife, are also being dragged into these cases to harass and pressure the husband and his family. And finally, in 2023, Jharkhand High Court Justice Sanjay Kumar Dwivedi noted that although Section 498A was designed to punish cruelty by husbands, it is now being misused in order to extract vengeance. Now, here's the discerning part. We live in times when, justifiably so, there's a lot of anger in the society over what has happened to Devi in the Ajikar hospital in Kolkata. And one of the key demands of the people protesting on the streets is that we need laws to get stricter, more stringent. Take a look at this latest data from the National Criminal Records Bureau that states that crimes against women has seen a staggering rise year by year from 2020 to 2022 to a point where today there are at least 51 crimes being recorded every hour against women. A whopping 4.45 lakh cases in 2022 itself. Now, 31.4% of these cases registered against women are domestic cruelty, which is where Section 498A comes in. Domestic cruelty on part of the husband and his family. Far more, as you can see on your screens, than the percentage of cases of rape or sexual assault recorded. So now do the math. 31% of 4.5 lakh cases means close to 1 lakh cases filed every year which pertain to Section 498A. So whether you say the law needs to go, or whether you believe that it needs to get stricter, you're looking at implications that impact at least 1 lakh families. Now, I'm being joined by my guests, Deepika Bhardwaj, activist and documentary filmmaker. I'm being joined by Nikhil Palli, lawyer. I'm being joined by Tahira Hasan, women's rights activist. I'm also being joined by Advocate Swapnil Srivastav, senior advocate of MZM Legal. I'd like to start with you, Tahira Hasan. Now, how do we navigate this very tricky issue? Today, what the Supreme Court has said is something which every lawyer will tell you. We have two other lawyers on the panel. They will also join you. Everyone knows people who have been at the receiving end of an ugly matrimonial dispute, whether it be a man or a woman. How do we navigate this very tricky situation where the public discourse at this point is that we need to make laws and their implementation stricter? Tahira, I believe your mic is muted. If you can unmute your mic, then we can hear you.
Okay. And now can you hear me?
Yes, please go on, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Can.
Yes, I'm saying whenever the laws are made,
yes, I can. Please
they're not made by the will of any government or like that. I mean, we women struggle for that, like a Domestic Violence Act also. We struggled a lot. Then we got the Domestic Violence Act 2005. That time too, it was a voice that was coming from the parliament. No, women are more safe within the four walls. But it's the women who made them to realize, no, women are beaten, atrocities, they faced atrocities, and this is assault on their dignity, women's dignity. Don't you think that women have dignity? They are second-class citizens. We are half the population, you know. So why not? The laws are misused. Only this law is misused, I'm asking. The lawyers are sitting, they tell me? The law of 302 is not, section 302 is not misused. Other laws are not misused. If misused, you penalize the person. If it is, come out, it is revealed that they have misused certain laws, you penalize them, you punish them. But how can you say you can dilute 498? Because our women are facing atrocities. They are they are assaulted by their husband and in-laws. Every day
Okay.
it's not limited to only upper class, middle class, lower middle class, or marginalized class. Everywhere women is beaten, and it is taken for granted like that they can be beaten. You go and ask the people, say no, it go the village area, remote areas, so no, if she's not cooking well, then husband can beat her. Like that. This type of mentality is also there. Patriarchy is deep rooted,
Okay,
and
so let me bring
patriarchy
in
has their
Deepika to
own
counter you, Tahira
made
Hasan,
the
ma'am.
guideline that controls the women's sex, just to control the women's sexuality. If women going out, they are working, then
Okay.
if they're not cooking properly, they
Deepika
will be
Narayan
beaten.
Bhardwaj, come in here. The point being made by Tahira Hasan, is that A, domestic violence and cruelty against women is a reality that we cannot afford to ignore. And second, every law, whether it be IPC section 302, 498A, other sections of whether it be UAPA, every law always carries the potential for being misused. Why is just this law, 498A of the IPC, whether it be IPC or BNS, why is this law always singled out?
So I think I wholeheartedly agree with Tahira ma'am as far as the point of women suffering due to domestic violence is concerned. Yes, domestic violence against women is a reality. But I think Tahira ma'am is absolutely misplaced and absolutely unaware of probably the fact that even men have dignity, even men have human rights, even men are beaten up, and the justices and the courts and the high courts and the supreme courts who are daily on a daily basis passing judgments where they are seeing absolutely scary abuse of laws like 498A domestic violence act, then even after seeing a gory abuse of these laws, if women's rights activists think that everyone should shut up only because women have dignity, then I think there can be no bigger bias than that. Women should get justice. But if women are filing 498 a case because the husband, did not bring chow mein, there was a case recently, woman filed a 498 a case because the husband did not bring chow mein for her. People have reduced these laws as a joke. Just today, Karnataka High Court has quashed a 498 a case, Ritangshu,
Yeah.
where the woman has filed 10 cases, kept on marrying one after the other men, then filing a 498 a case and taking money from them. And she has filed 5 rape cases also. So when we are seeing realities like that,
Yes.
then I'm sorry to tell Tahira ma'am that women have exceeded beyond boundaries of misuse of laws. And you need to take a cognizance of that.
Can I
And
just come in
stating the
here?
truth is not a violation of
Can I
dignity
just
of
come in
women.
here
I am
and
also a woman, but I also have a brother whose future
okay?
I'm scared of. This
Can I just
cannot
come
go
in?
on.
Can I just come in here at this point, Deepika, on that point you just made here? I just wanted to bring my 2 cents as someone who unfortunately has also been at the personal end of this. I don't think this issue is done justice by reducing it to a men versus women issue. Because at the
Absolutely.
end of the day, when a 498A is misused, there are also cases filed against the mother-in-law, there are also cases filed against the sister-in-law, and the women also are made to suffer. Similarly, when a case is being misused, the instructions often come from male members of the family and especially lawyers at this point, and which is why I would like to go across to my 2 lawyers at this case who are joining me on this panel here. Nikhil Palli, as someone who knows the in and out of the courts, if I'm not mistaken, what happens inside these courts is a very different picture from what we see on social media. Because a lot of times there is an incentive for the lawyers to try and get both sides of the case to come up with the most massive nuclear weapons to come out here. You file a case of defamation, you file a case of 498A. And even if one party tries to be sane, the fear is put there that, sir, आप तो नहीं फाइल करोगे, but आपके पास क्या गारंटी है कि आपकी दूसरी पार्टी आपके खिलाफ गलत केस नहीं फाइल करेगी? What is the reality, Nikhil Palli?
Well, firstly, good evening to all my fellow panelists and you. I cannot comment for if a lawyer is giving a misadvice to his client. That is not something which I advocate and which I will comment on. But that's everyone has their own prerogative, and advice which I give might look wrong to someone else. That's not my domain, and it's not correct for me to speak. However, coming to the topic, I would first and foremost, I would like to begin with the caveat that society and history has not been kind to women, especially in this country, even others. But coming to my point, we are at the end of a common law country. Men and women, they're both equal before the law. I would just like to point out what, with utmost respect to Tahira ma'am, in the starting comment, she made a blanket comment that men beat women all over the country. Now, me and my fellow male panelists would have to think 10 times to make a counter a statement on the same lines. I will not use the word on the opposite gender. She just painted everyone. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It happens. Unfortunately, at a huge scale. But to come on national TV and paint every man as if he's beating his wife, which she just did, I didn't want to point it out then. This tells you why we need to change this law. This law was made. There is no doubt we need a law for the welfare of women, but of men as well. The law was, there's a very old saying, the law is made, then it's used, then it's misused, and then it's abused. We're now at the stage of it being abused. And when it's being abused, the duty of the legislature, the judiciary, and the public at large to come in with the pens and see how can it be used for the main purpose it was brought in. I'm sorry, blanket statements might look good in public, but it doesn't solve the purpose, as you asked. The whole point is it needs to solve its purpose. That's where we are.
Okay. Before I go across to Advocate Sapnil Srivastav, I'll let Tahira Hasan have the response, have the opportunity to counter these points. Tahira ji, please keep in mind that it's not just us panelists on the show or common people saying that the law has been misused. It's the highest court of the law. The Supreme Court come out and has specifically stated that 498 and domestic violence are the most abused laws. Now, my point is, as I mentioned in my own personal comment, if I may be allowed to make that, when a law is abused, it does not generally follow gender definitions in terms of, only men are benefiting from an abused law or only women are benefiting from misused law. A misused law or an abused law on an en masse level affects everyone in the society. Why should we bring it down to being defensive as to whether a law needs a rethink or not?
I'm saying that really that I have also brother, I have sisters also. So it's not like that. I'm saying that everyone has brother, sister, there's a father. And think about them also when their daughter is beaten. I'm not saying if the law is misused. I said in my opening statement.
Again, if I may, I really don't want to interrupt you, but I'm not sure I like this logic that make a law stricter because I also have a sister, I also have a mother. Similarly, don't stop the abuse of a law, whether I also have a father, I also have a brother. Men and women deserve rights, not just because they are our relatives.
I'm working as a women rights activist for 25 years in the Uttar Pradesh. That is the largest state of the India. So I know what is the condition of the women on the ground. I'm talking about the marginalized class, upper class, middle class, and especially the grassroots level. And I'm saying this is happening, but I'm saying if this is misused by any person, I'm not saying about only this law, any law which is misused against any man or anybody, then penalize the person, punish the person. I'm saying person, not only woman or man. Whoever is involved, whoever is misusing, whoever is doing this must be punished. But thing is this, that I'm saying people are not talking, so many laws are misused, are being misused, you are saying. It's not the only law that is being misused. If being misused, penalize the person. But why like that we're talking about it? What about those women? I'm not beaten, I'm not facing domestic violence, but what about my sisters and daughters who are facing it? And do you think it is easy for the women? I'm talking for the grassroots. Again, the emphasis is on that. Do they come out easily from their houses and go to the police station to get the FIR registered?
So you're saying, Tahira Sanji, you're saying, Tahira ma'am, you're saying that don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If there are cases of a misuse of the law, crack down on the cases, come up with stricter punishment to tackle those, instead of changing the law, which by and large serves a larger purpose. Let me get an Advocate Sapnil Srivastav to see if he agrees with that point of view. Advocate Srivastav, it's been, if I'm not mistaken, 2 to 3 decades since 498A came in. And when I say 498, I also mean Section 85 and 86 of BNS. Has that really helped in curbing genuine cases of domestic violence, genuine cases of cruelty, genuine cases of violence? Because, and I don't want to rely on anecdotal evidence, because we have all known people who have suffered due to matrimonial dispute. We have all known women who have suffered at the hands of domestic violence, at the hands of their partners, and have not had the courage or not had the societal backing to go forward. Because let's be honest, our society is still disgustingly patriarchal, no matter how much the laws may be based towards women. So have we reached a situation where the corrupt and the powerful can game the system and take advantage of it, whether it be men or women?
See, Ritangshu, your own statistics tell us that 51 crimes are committed against women every year in our country. So it is an undeniable fact that we need protective laws. It is undeniable that patriarchy is deep-rooted. But as a lawyer, I can also confirm that the misuse of 498A is prevalent. But this is where the nuance comes in, because what every panelist has said so far on the show, what emerges is that it is not the law which harasses the people. It is the machinery which is tasked with implementing that law. In fact, the way the legal framework stands, even under the new law today, a preliminary inquiry by the police is mandatory before registration of an FIR in cases like this. So essentially, the police are the custodians. They must sift between the genuine cases and the fake ones, and they must ensure that the process does not become punishment for those involved. And the real question today is the police discharging this responsibility adequately? In 2014, and because we were talking about the Supreme Court, in 2014, the Supreme Court in Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar very vehemently answered this question in the negative. It came down heavily on the police forces for the insensitivity displayed by them in 498A cases, and the sort of inordinate arrests that they carry out. In fact, the Honorable Supreme Court also passed strict directives that a checklist and a compliance checklist be put in place by state governments to ensure that police does not abuse this process and that innocent people are not made victims of vengeance, etc. So I think the solution does not lie in scrapping the law altogether. It lies in ensuring compliance with guidelines already in place.
That's a fair point, because if I'm not mistaken, there was a few years ago a Supreme Court judgment which ensured that there was no automatic arrest after Section 498, which used to be the case, which led to a lot of abuse. Let me get in Nikhil Palli on that as well. Do you agree with that view which our panelist, Advocate Swapnil Srivastava said, Nikhil, that the problem lies in policing? Because there have been cases where people have gone to the police and the police say, "Hamare haath to bandhe hue, कानून सारे ladies की तरफ है." That is not really the case. Is the solution with better policing and more humane policing, who are not going to be influenced by whether the male party is powerful or the female party is powerful, and look at a case on merit? Are we asking for too much?
Well, firstly, on paper, we're not asking too much. That's the job of the police to register the complaint of any complaint or any victim who goes there. At the same time, I also am not. I don't turn a blind eye towards the ground realities. The fact of the matter is, this problem is a very deep-rooted problem, unfortunately, and it is not just applicable in laws which involve the two genders. It also a lot of similar complaints are also heard in many other crimes across the country. So I do agree with my panelists to the extent that there are laws that need to be, there are guidelines which need to be implemented better. But the fact of the matter is, the society in which we live today, the crazy society, for lack of a better word, when we live today, the man is, in my opinion, unfortunately, as well as the law was thought out to be, and I wanted to take care of the purpose of the woman. If I may just give a very small example, we all remember the poor Sikh fellow who was blamed all over social media, even by celebrities, just in Delhi a few years ago. What happened about that case? Everyone remembers the apparent alleged accused, and he was acquitted, right? To the best of knowledge, because for non-prosecution. What about his rights? And that's why I'm saying it is much more broader and much more complex than just having a 10-20 minute discussion. All parties involved need to sit together, and they need to understand that no one side is completely right. It's not a white and black here. There's a lot of gray in this.
Fair enough. So since you mentioned the case, I believe that gentleman's name was Sarabjit Singh, who was accused by a woman of misbehavior, and that became a very infamous case as well. Deepika Bhardwaj, you wanted to make a point. I'll get you in with the question that At the end of the day, for every Sarabjit Singh, there are thousands and many more women who are nameless and faceless who receive much more than just cruelty in terms of genuine cases and of violence against women here. Are we looking at Section 498A as a necessary evil at a time when, even if you look at diluting 498, it sends out a very wrong message that we are actually not safeguarding women and going in the opposite direction?
Ritangshu, first of all, to the point of every law is misused, let me remind everyone that TADA was essentially scrapped because the law was misused. Of course, the argument was against a certain community. So there have been precedents where the laws have been struck down allegedly because of their misuse. Second thing, Ritangshu, we are in a country where we have just recently outraged everywhere in the country, everybody was demanding justice for women. We need to absolutely demand that justice for women, and there is no problem with that. But we as a country of 21st century, need to admit this fact that women can be as vengeful, as criminal minded, as manipulative, as lying as men, and they're very capable of taking advantage. Just this today's case of Karnataka High Court, this woman has gone on filing 10 cases. There are 2 extortion cases against her. No action has been taken against her. Why? Just imagine a case where a man would have abused 5 women, would have gone scot-free, finally landed
No,
up
so
at
very
the level
quickly,
of a high
Deepika,
court.
because
This
so in
man
a
would
case
have
like
been
Karnataka, where do you
abused.
believe
This
the
man would
problem
have been
lies? Where
punished.
does it lies with the
No, let me just
no,
finish,
Deepika,
Ritangshu. No,
in the
let me
case
just
of
finish.
Karnataka, I'm just asking you.
Wait. Let me just finish.
Okay,
Let
go
me
on.
just finish. The law needs to serve its purpose. 498 was diluted because of misuse. Now there are other criminal laws related to women which will have to be diluted. There are a lot of cases that are coming of rape law misuse. I shudder to think of the day where courts will have to say something similar for rape laws. The misuse needs to be punished as strictly as an actual perpetrator. It does not matter whether it's a woman who
But
has lied through a
isn't
cheat.
that a problem with isn't that a problem with improper implementation?
No, it is
If
an
any law
absolute
is
problem with
misused, then
improper.
it's the
No, but
problem with the people of misuse, not the law
it's
itself.
no, Ritangshu, it's also a problem with the mindset. And this is not what I'm saying. This is what authorities have said categorically in my documentary. Men who commit wrong to women should be strictly punished. And the law system need to ensure that. But if a woman is filing a false rape case, false gang rape case, or a false 498 case, or any false case, there needs to be a liability put up on the women as well. Why 498 has gone on to be misused for so long? It's 40 years, Ritangshu. The law was passed in 1983. Tell me even 40 women who have been punished for filing a false 498A. No, you will not find it. Why? They destroy lives. Today, the Karnataka High Court, an 82-year-old grandmother was implicated. Can you imagine her pain of being criminally charged at 82-year-old?
There is no denial of the fact right now, Deepika. There's no denying the fact that 498A, the abuse of it destroys lives. When we decided to do this debate today, there were several anecdotal cases which came out in this newsroom itself about people suffering due to its misuse. We can also say that there were many panelists who didn't want to come on air because they agreed with the Supreme Court's views, but did not really want to come out and give their views. What I can conclude from this debate is that this is an issue which requires a larger consensus. But to begin with, let's not start at looking at a law or a misuse of a law which impacts only one gender and other genders. People are affected when a system is misused. Whether women are misused, whether men are misused, this is an issue which impacts families, which impacts a lot more than a black and white case of men being the villains or women being the villains. On that note, let me wrap it up. Deepika Bhardwaj, Nikhil Palli, Tahira Hasan, and also Advocate Swapnil Srivastava, thank you so much for joining us on this debate, on the Urban Debate.